All right, good morning. This is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. After a somewhat disappointing Super Bowl, after all the hype, it's time to start focusing our attention on other things besides football because it's going to be 5.5, 6 months before we get back into it. We got to have something else to do. Down here uh, in Florida, the information yesterday is the basketball playoff brackets were released. Now, to me, that's a strange statement after all these years following high school sports in Florida. You pretty much knew how things were going to be and had to worry about no bracket releases, primarily because in days of yore, if you won your district, you went to the playoffs. Wasn't none of that make little Johnny feel better about himself because you didn't win the district championship, so we're going to give you a second opportunity to make the playoffs. And we're going to do that by inviting runner-up teams. So when they started doing that, the formula was simple. Just like any other basketball state or league, in college and high school, generally what happens is you don't have to win a game in the regular season. But if you go to your district tournament, you can still make the playoffs by winning that district tournament, and you will be crowned district champions. Well, of course, you have some weak districts out there, and there's some teams that make the playoffs with losing records. So, of course, down here, I don't know about everywhere else, but you got some crying coaches. And if things don't work out their way and they just go and cry, cry, cry till they get somebody to listen to them, why does this team make the playoffs? They got a losing record and we got a winning record. We should be in the playoffs. Our district is better than theirs. Well, did you win your district tournament? No. Did you make it to the championship game? No. Why the hell why do you feel like you should have made the state playoffs if you didn't even make it to the district championship? Well, that was the way things were. But after all the crying and moaning and everything else that these coaches do, they came up with a system to try to mimic other states where you take the district champion gets the automatic bid, and now the remaining people in your region all go up for a computerized ranking. In other words, you got about 9 or 10 teams fighting for 4 spots. So they base it on certain criteria. Number of wins you got, strength of schedule. And generally, it works out that the better team usually gets to the playoffs, but not always. Because what ended up happening is some teams that are ranked so much better than another team, they get beat by that team. So the question is, what did the state do then? Well, I'll tell you what the state did. Our school, and I'm not calling no names, but one of the schools in our district played a cupcake schedule. They plan all these fly-by-night schools or Belly Association rated, and they like these private schools that are popping up everywhere. They got athletic programs, but nothing great about them. You generally want to get teams like that because you know you can get some easy victories. Well, if you're loading up your schedule with a whole bunch of these teams, you got a chance to pad your win column, right? Well, the state sees what's going on, so what they do, they put a strength of schedule rating out there. Okay, fine. Well, let me tell you, the school I'm talking about was ranked in the 100s out of the whole state because they had over 20 wins. They didn't have a high strength of schedule. They actually had a negative strength of schedule rating. And the other team in their district was rated over 300, but their strength of schedule was a whole lot better, but they didn't have as many wins. They were a little bit below 500. So lo and behold, in the district tournament, now you get the head-to-head competition. Well, guess what? That team in the 300s went on the road to this team in the 100s, beat them up, had a well over a 20-point lead and cruised to a double-digit victory. Well, when the rankings came out, guess what happened? That team that just got beat on their home floor by a team rated 200 points behind, 200 positions behind them, they got in the playoffs over the team that they beat. Because the team that was in the 300s ended up losing the district championship game. They didn't get the automatic bid, and that allowed the team they just beat to get to the championship game to get to the playoffs. So in other words, if this was boxing, if I knock you out and you still get to the playoffs and I don't, how does that make sense? It does not. Now, you can say, well, that was a one-night thing. No, it wasn't. It was a complete mismatch of talent. If you say, let's play the game in April, no practice, no nothing, that team can go back up there and do the same thing they did last week. The point is, rankings are great to look at, and it looks nice, but you still got to go play the game. And matchups make all the damn difference. And if you don't match up to that team that you're playing against, you're going to lose. So that team in the 100s clearly didn't match up to this team in the 300s, but that team in the 100s going to the playoffs. So they're going to get on the highway and they're going to go 300 miles down the road and they're going to get beat and they're going to come back home. So you tell me, is it worth it? So my question to you was, do you respect teams that have a cupcake schedule and get into the playoffs based on that? Or do you respect teams more who play a tough schedule, somewhere around 500, but they're clearly better than a team that played a cupcake schedule? I have to say, I don't respect the team. If you're a 20-win team playing against a team where half the wins you got, you should beat that team, right? I have no excuses. And if I lose to that team in the district tournament, I don't feel like I should be going to the playoffs. But evidently, the state is saying to you, the district tournament doesn't mean anything anymore, because if you look at anybody looking at the game can clearly see that that team there is not deserving of being in the playoffs. So if you're going to, well, the state don't give a damn. They're going to be making money off the gates anyway, so that's all they really care about. So you think they really care if that team has to go 300 miles down the road to get beat by 25 points? Well, what do they care? They're going to be asleep. By the time that team gets halfway home, shit, they probably already in the bed. They don't care. But I don't think that it's a good idea or a good look for the state that the district tournament no longer matters. It's all about what you do in the regular season. And the way that these coaches howl and moan down here, they're going to change that back before long. I guarantee you. JC, how you doing, man? I got Cool Gaming Official. How you doing, man? From India? I'm doing all right. Steven in Texas, the Dubs. Got to get those dubs however you can get them. Yeah, I understand that, but eventually, it's just like some 8th grade kid beating up on some 5th grader all the time. You might have a great spark in the record, but when it comes to the playoff, you're not playing against those 5th graders anymore. You're going to get those 8th grade teams, and you're going to get blown out. So you're telling me it's better to get blown out in the playoffs by teams on your level and rack up wins in the regular season based on playing weak sisters of the poor? I don't think so. It still comes down to respect, and you're not going to get much respect doing that. Not for me. But I understand your point there, Steve. But I just think that what they should do, if they're not going to go back to the old days where the district champion goes to the tournament and that's it. If you have to do runner-ups at all, then I think the runner-up in your district tournament should go to the playoffs. So even though this team was ranked 300, they beat that team that was supposed with this gaudy record, and it wasn't even close. But yet, they're going to the playoffs, and I just don't think there's nothing right about that. But the state doesn't care. They're going to get their cut, and that's all they care about. But just like the NCAA, the state association, especially Florida, it is on the way out the door. They're basically useless. They can't stop all the rampant cheating and stuff that goes on, and then you come up with silly rules like this that don't even make it look any better than what it is. So they're going to have to find a way, just like the NCAA, to hurriedly repair that image and restore power, which I don't think is ever going to occur again, because you get the proliferation of all these private schools popping up, and you have NIL, and a lot of these schools are now jumping ship from the FHSAA to the SSA, and they got a problem. And the way it's going, don't seem like they're going to last very, very much longer. But right now, we got a 50-50 battle here. A lot of you guys, you're on the fence about the situation. I'm not. You want to play a balanced schedule, and you throw a couple cupcakes in there every now and then. You can't play all hard teams, or you want to play some teams you figure you can beat. But just because you figure you can beat them, that don't mean that you're going to beat them. You still got to go in there and play. So it'd be interesting to see how that unfolds. Now, speaking of starting with baseball season last night, normally we play a couple of preseason games. This year I wasn't able to schedule any preseason games, and I think that hurt me last night. We lost to a team that we should beat, but the beauty of baseball, I can go play that team tonight and be a completely different game. We got rust and kinks to work out, but overall we played pretty well. Now I got a tougher opponent tonight, but I'm sending my ace. Now my question to you guys is this. If you got a team that you figure you can beat and you got a tougher opponent the next night, do you send your ace pitcher out to go against the lesser team, or do you save them to go against the better team? Well, me, I opted to save my ace for tonight and try to see what my other players were going to do, and it kind of backfired on me. Kid did pretty well overall, but he's not the ace. Had I went with the ace, then I probably would have won that game last night. But I don't regret it. I thought about it, kicked it around, but overall I don't regret it because you need to see what the other players can do. And being that it's early in the season, don't really hurt you much. And in my situation, going to have to win the district just to get to the playoffs. But I think that when you have an opportunity to get one, it's nice to get it. We could have set the tone last night with that and come back with the ace next time we play a tougher team. And maybe that will make a difference. But I didn't go with the ace this time, and we lost the game. But my lesser staff members got some experience, and I got a great idea about what I got. So overall, I'm not disappointed, but I could have got a easier win. And it goes into what we're talking about today about playing cupcake schedules. Do I take my ace and blow away a lesser team? Or do I take my ace and get him some valuable experience against better teams? And I chose to go with throwing him out there against the better team to develop him, because at the end of the year, I want to have something to say about what happens come playoff time. So, but I kicked myself in the head about it a little bit. And in the end, though, I think I would do it again the same way. So I'm not disappointed about that. But these cupcake schedules, you can't get much respect if all you're going to do is play a cupcake schedule and then sit over here talking about you're great. You see the same thing. It used to be like that in college football, or these big conferences forming. You can't hide anymore. I use the example, say, of Oklahoma. Not saying that Oklahoma played cupcake schedules, but all those big schools from different conferences, you always had one or two big dogs in each conference. So you take the old Big Eight, where you had Oklahoma and Nebraska that dominated for years. They would play outside the conference against a team. Oklahoma would play Texas every year, and they were in the old Southwest. Then they went to the Big 12 and they came together. So the competition got a little stiffer, and you might have three big dogs in there now instead of two. But the rest of the schedule was pretty much played with what we might consider as a cupcake. Well, now you have to play. And what you're seeing in college football is a reflection of what would happen if you had to play tougher schedules. You can't hide anymore. So when you're a fan base that's used to winning a whole bunch of games in college football because you weren't playing tough teams all the time, now you're in that situation where you got to play tough teams. So you're not going to get all those 9, 10 wins that you were used to every year. And it's a new reality. This is why I don't think the model that they have now is going to last too long, because fan bases are used to winning X amount of games. So you can't do that when you have these super conferences. So I think most people are in the line to think that these cupcake schedules, or at least an X amount of cupcakes, is what you really want. So you can celebrate and say, look how good we are, instead of saying we want to play the best. And it's a microcosm of sports society as a whole. And it's cowardice in a lot of ways, but this is why I like the current college setting, the way it is now, college football. And I think it's great, but in my heart, I know it's not going to last. And you just got a bunch of cowards out there, a bunch of coward coaches, and all they want to do is beat up on teams they think they expect to beat, because they have different financing, they have different facilities. They're just on a different level than a lot of teams they play, and they want to play these lesser teams so they can get these easy victories. But do you really respect that? And I can tell you without a doubt that overall it's not respected. But you look good though. You get a lot of victories and look like you're doing better than what you're doing. But when we get to the playoffs and you play that dog that's just as good as you are, or the same mindset you are, now we find out if you can actually coach or not, because you're not going to have a 4-touchdown lead going into the fourth quarter. You might have a 4-point lead, but now you got to coach. And that's when we see who the real is. And I like that. All right. Can you blame the schools on soft schedule? Does it fall on district scheduling? No. Here's the thing about that, JC. In Florida, you don't have to play a region schedule. You don't have to play anybody in your district. So I can go as a, let's just say a big school like Miami might be in a class 7-8. I can go and schedule 25 3A schools, and I can go 25-0, because you expect that most 7A schools should be able to beat 3A schools. It don't happen because of all the recruiting and stuff that's going on, but it's very possible that you can do that. Then, because of the way the rankings are now, at 25-0, you may not be a great team, but you've been beating up on all these Team 4 classifications smaller than you, and your ranking is going to be high. But when you go to the district tournament, well, the teams that you ducked or played, that now you're going to play them, you get beat in the first round, but you got so many points stacked up in your rankings that you already know you're going to the playoffs. So the district tournament is irrelevant, and it was never that way. My high school, my team when I was in school, my senior year, they went 21-4 in the regular season, and they got upset in the district semifinals and didn't make the state tournament. Under the day's rules, they might have been the top seed in the region, but they didn't even make the playoffs. And I think if you're going to be a good team, you have to continually be a good team. You shouldn't be rewarded. What you did last week, that don't mean anything. District tournament means win right now. This is do or die. Playoff starts with the district, not what you did. And that team that was in the 100s, ranking in the state, the top 150 in the state, and Florida's got like 600 and something teams, they got beaten in the district tournament by a team like 350 rank. That's 200 positions. Ain't no way in the hell, if you're a legitimate 150 place in the state, should be beat by a team ranked 200 points behind you. It don't make any sense. But because they had a weak schedule and they won 20 games, they're going to the state playoffs. Now, they're being rewarded with a 300-mile trip down the road, but still, they're in the playoffs. And the coach can say, our team made the playoffs. When we look at his schedule, it's like a bunch of 12th graders playing against a bunch of 6th graders. Do you respect that, soft schedule maker? Hell no, we don't respect that. So can I blame the schools? Yeah, I blame them, because you're a coward. Go out and play somebody and let's see what you really got. That's the way I feel about that. All right. But anyway, I don't want to harp on that too much. You guys are saying pretty much the same thing I'm saying. It was 50-50 for a while, but most of you over 60% are saying you don't respect these soft schedules. And I agree. And just like me, everybody's loving these tough college football games now, because whereas a team like Florida, who would duck anybody, and lean on the idea that they were in the SEC. They wouldn't step outside that comfort zone and play anybody else. Now they forced to play, and they ain't doing so well. It's not that Florida couldn't compete with those other players, other teams. It's just they not used to playing them, and it's showing. Now they'll catch up eventually. They'll eventually get it right, but at the same time, the pool is a whole lot deeper. So Florida, they're on the verge of going back to what they used to be, in the middle of the road SEC team, and a school that once didn't win a damn game back in 1979. That's the way Florida is headed. So unless they get their money right, they're going to be heading in that direction. And whatever. Okay, I see it after you explained it. But anyway, I appreciate you guys chiming in with me today. Kind of worn down a little bit. And had a break. Had a funeral over the weekend. Had the Super Bowl. I got a game yesterday and I got another game today. I'm excited about the little baseball team I got. I think that we're going to make a little bit of noise. So I'm happy to see we didn't play bad last night. We kind of got hurt because we didn't play a preseason game. With a preseason game to work out the kinks, yeah, we'd have definitely won that game no matter who I started. But I was wrestling with the fact, should I start my ace pitcher over a developing pitcher against a lesser team? I went with a developing pitcher against a lesser team, and I'm going to throw the ace out against a good team so we could compete. But some people think that maybe you should take the ace and throw him out there against that weak team to set the tone. But then again, that plays into the fact that I'd be just like everybody else, trying to take major advantage over something that not going to really benefit me down the line. I think by starting my ace against a better team and developing the other players against the weaker teams can make me stronger overall in the end. So prayer that you're going to go undefeated playing baseball. It's not even necessary. And I can go 0-25 and still make the state playoffs. I won't win no computer battles, as shown by that basketball example I gave you. But we'll be a pretty good team moving forward, and we have opportunity. So I'm excited about the way things are going in that direction. But anyway, I got to get up out of here. Larry Barrett, how you doing, man? You always pop in when I'm getting ready to go. We're talking about cupcake schedules today, and you know how that is. Mr. Carter, another guy. Man, this was the worst Super Bowl in history. Yeah, I heard that. I mean, it's been a couple of bad Super Bowls. I know the Rams in New England. That was like 13-3. And that Super Bowl 5 with the Colts and Cowboys was sloppy. So that could be considered one of the worst Super Bowls. Also had a turnover affair with the Broncos and the Cowboys in Super Bowl 12. And I guess you could say if a major blowout. I saw the 49ers run off the Broncos. New England got killed by the Bears. That also could be considered some of the worst Super Bowls, only because the competition wasn't there. You can't blame the Bears for being a superior team or the 49ers, but at the same time, it don't make for good games. And if it's not a good game, that could be also considered the worst. The Rams beating my Bears was a better game than that. Yeah, it was. I think the Rams, they cut their own throat. Like I was telling you guys all along, Sean McVay is the biggest enemy of the Rams. He reminds me of Sean Payton when he had Drew Brees. I mean, his offense is just so beautiful. And we got all these beautiful plays, and we just got to show the world just how beautiful they are. So we're going to call these pass plays, pass plays, pass plays. Look at these great designs we come up with. And look how great we are. But that's not always the best approach when you're in a tight game. And you saw that with McVay going for on fourth down instead of kicking field goals and other things he's doing. And it ended up hurting the Rams. So he's the biggest detriment to the Rams, McVay, as beautiful as his offense is. And he got the MVP this year. But again, he has to take a close look at himself and scale himself back and run the damn game plan like it's supposed to be instead of trying to show the world how great his offense is. All right. Spring is in the air. Baseball spring training in a few weeks. Yeah, I already started we started baseball down here. Regular season started last night. So, yeah, I understand that. By the time Major League Baseball getting that first week, we'll be wrapping up the regular season, which is fine with me. I need a break. Uh, but yeah, that was a tough one there. But I asked the question yesterday: do you think the Seahawks could repeat? I don't think so. They think so, but no, I don't see it. The other teams, a lot of good teams in NFC, and they just waiting to see the the Seahawks, because they know they can beat Seattle. It's just that Seattle was the team. They got on the run at the right time. They got the right matchups, and everything worked out for them. Hey, congratulations! But I'll see you next week or next year. Oh no, not a repeat. No, they're not going anywhere. All right, now let me leave you with this, Mr. Carter, and I got 2 minutes. The Jaguars, when they fired Doug Peterson, he refused to demote Press Taylor. He's been non-productive in offense, and it hurt the Jaguars. Then he goes to Chicago after being forced out in Jacksonville, and now he's been promoted to the offensive coordinator. So you're going to have the same issues that the Jaguars had. And I brought up the issue yesterday. Guys like Press Taylor, who are marginal at best in their performance, seem to always be able to get a job. When you have coaches out there who have been successful, can't get a job. So does the NFL really care about winning, or is it about taking care of the people that you know best? That's a question that you should think about. Because Press Taylor is not a good coach. He may know the game. He knows it well enough to get himself in position. But if he's on the other sideline, and I know he's got a significant hand in it, I'm going to take my chances and say I'm going to probably knock off Press Taylor, because he's going to be a detriment to his own team. And now the Bears, after Ben Johnson's supposed to be this great offensive mind, why would you hire a guy like Press Taylor to be an offensive coordinator? Why not do it yourself? Something to think about there, Mr. Carter. You're lucky they made it that far. Selmo, man, I got to go, man. Why you come in so late? JC is already come and gone. I don't know if he's still here. He's still here. Still talking about baseball. Anyway, that bell rang, man. I got to go, man. I like talking to you guys, but I got to go. But yeah, that's keep an eye on that, Carter. I don't think Press Taylor is a good move for you, but we'll see how that works. But anyway, one last look at the poll. Do you respect teams who play a cupcake schedule? And I say no, and I'm sure that you guys probably feel the same. Now, I don't know if you guys know it, but it takes a while, maybe a couple of hours. Once this video uploads from live and transitions over to the video, you can always go back and look at this. And I'd like to know what you think about these teams with these cupcake schedules. And I'm talking about the new guys just popped in: Selmo, Mr. Carter, Mr. Barrett, and I'd like to know what you guys think. But I got to get up out of here, man. School getting ready to start, so I got to go. But I'll let you know how it goes tonight. Sending my ace. We got a good shot to knock off this team tonight. I'm excited about it, and I'll let you guys know how it went tomorrow morning, unless there's some breaking news. I wish I could go live during the game, but I have to use my phone to actually score the game. So I can't do both at the same time. But if I could, I would. So if I can figure out how to do it, I will. But in the meantime, you guys, you have a great day, and I'll catch you on the flip side. If not tonight, definitely in the morning. So have a great day. And we don't have Tomlin anymore, and Rodgers is in flux. We still bring Rodgers back because, as you know, Rodgers was with McCarthy in Green Bay. So they have a working relationship that could probably still work, or we get some wins out of him, at least till we get Will Howard up to speed. And maybe we can bring our young gun in and take us to the Super Bowl like Drake May. But the difference is